Welcome to the Luminate House podcast. I'm Kalina Nicole Garza.
My name is Joe S. Garza.
Oh, okay. Why did you laugh like that?
Because of how you
You
said.
were doing something bad, but you're like a child. Like, oh my gosh, I did something.
No, because you
I
said.
got away
I'm
with
just
it.
trying to be cool like you. I'm just trying to be cool like you.
That's
all.
hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, for real though. This is the truth. Okay, we just want to talk about Jesus. That is the purpose of this podcast. We believe that just talking about Jesus, talking about the things that he does, the life change that he can bring, that will bring people to him.
Yeah.
It will get people to know him. That is why we're here. That's why we do what we do. And, you know, we have received comments on our channel that God is not real, that Satan isn't real. And I'm here to say that is not true.
Yeah.
God is so real. And as a result, Satan is real as well. But our goal on this podcast is to authentically chase the feet of Jesus.
Come on.
In whatever way that we can, in whatever kind of conversation we can. We just want to talk about Jesus because in my own life, Jesus has saved me. I know him. I have met him. I talked to him. And there is no denouncing, renouncing, denying what Jesus is to me and what he's done in my life. And so I'm going to keep talking about him. We're going to keep talking about him.
Amen.
We're going to bring people on to talk about their testimony. And that is the purpose of our podcast. And we are so excited. We're pumped up for this year. Because we know that God is going to do good things, incredible things. So welcome to the Luminate House podcast. Let's get into this episode. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Feeling pretty good. We have a.
Are you really feeling good?
I think so.
Okay. So you just woke up from a nap.
Well, I woke up from a nap, but it was one of those like power naps that you just kind of feel real good.
Yeah, those are the best.
Afterwards. Yeah, sometimes like you can sleep for way too long and be groggy. And that's when I'm like, okay, that was probably not the best choice. But I feel pretty good.
Okay, good.
Pretty good. We got a vacation this week.
Yeah, we're going glamping. Not camping, but glamping.
Glamping. I've been telling everyone camping because it's like, it's camping. We're going to be outside.
No, we're going to be in a cabin.
Yeah, but we'll be spending the majority of our time outside.
Yes, but we're sleeping inside.
Yeah, we're sleeping inside. Yeah. I mean, we're not tent camping.
Yeah, I won't do tent camping anymore.
Yeah, but that's a whole debate in itself. Yeah.
A debate how? Like you're like a debate between me and you?
No.
Trying
like,
to get me to do it?
No. It's a debate between like what is actually camping, you know?
Joe is always trying to get me to go.
Oh my gosh. I love
tent camping.
I love it.
Because we used to do that. But now that we have a toddler,
it's a little harder.
I won't do it.
It's a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit more difficult, but.
But you just had an EP come out this past week.
Well, not me, but yeah.
But our church. You were a part of it. So technically you. How are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling good. I feel like it was quite the feat. I feel like it was quite the undertaking, you know, just long hours, long days, a lot of creative energy, a lot of creative effort. Also a lot of like coordinating just administratively.
A lot of people involved in that process.
A lot of people, a lot of processes that we, you know, I think that the coolest thing to me is not like the actual EP being created, but the culture that we created or cultivated during that time.
Yeah, for sure.
And just, you know, having songwriting sessions with like volunteers at our church that probably would never be a part of something like that, and just creating a culture where we are setting a precedent of creating something for God. Yeah. So I feel like that was the coolest thing to me, and the continuation of it, because it was the first, but it's not the last.
Yeah. So. Y'all are like already recording more, writing more. It's been super cool.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. I'm excited to see like the impact of it. You know, I think sometimes we can, as artists, like put so much importance on the release weekend, when I'm excited to see like, okay, months from now, like what is gonna happen with this EP? You know, what's gonna happen with these songs? Are people gonna still be talking about them? Are they gonna still be impacted by them? So
Yeah. Well, I think y'all, you know,
that table just like out in the middle now.
yeah, I think we moved it.
Yeah, we moved it. Yeah.
Well, I think y'all did a good job, which I know it was Scott like
Mhm.
leading a lot of that out, and then you partnered with him,
And that was even really cool too, to like, I mean, we co-led a lot of stuff, but it was really cool to like support him. And at the end of the day, like whatever he was feeling or thinking, I wanted to support. But also he invited me into a space where it was like us co-leading together. But there was a lot of times where the Lord even was teaching me of like yielding
yeah,
and submitting to his leadership and being able to support him. If we were to look at it this way, he was Moses and I was Aaron, somewhat. You know.
You know, what's funny about that is that I I'm used to you being
Mm-hmm.
like the leader
Mm-hmm.
within the realm of like what we do,
Yeah.
Luminate House and songwriting, and like you're pretty much the one who leads a lot of that and makes sure that it gets done.
Yeah.
And in this season, I saw you be the support
Mm-hmm.
of someone.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting to just hear you talk about it and hear you talk about some of your experiences and how you did have to submit to
Mm-hmm.
authority. And I think you did it so willingly and like so graciously. And it just was really, it was really neat to like see that.
Well, and I think too, like the Lord was so gracious as to allow me to be a part of it, even because I think about like looking back, there's no way I could have even led that. I didn't have the capacity, I didn't have the time. You know, we were doing stuff with Luminate House and all of this, along with other things that I just didn't have like the margin to lead it, but I had the margin to come alongside someone and support them
Yeah.
and lead with them and split a lot of the weight.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about all of this is that we came to our church knowing that there was a studio in the church. Like we came,
They just bought the building.
yes, like our
we were
campus
told. Yeah.
houses an incredible, beautiful studio.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think you were looking forward to.
Yeah, I was excited about it
for a long time.
100%.
But y'all didn't start actually like writing and recording in that studio for what was it like?
Yeah, pretty much like like really close to the 3-year mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just the
that's crazy. I didn't even think about that.
anticipation of that,
that's pretty wild.
and like excitement of that, and kind of the hands that it had to go through to like allow y'all to be in that space. I just think there was a lot of patience involved, which is kind of what we're talking about today. Good segue. Patience.
Patience.
What is the Lord?
I don't know if that's how you say it in Spanish. I literally just threw that out there. Just threw that out there. Yeah.
One thing about you is you'll do like Spanglish, but it like I could believe so like that it's real Spanish because of how confident you are when you say it.
I love when like people in my church will come up to me and they're like, "Hey, we have someone here that speaks Spanish. You know, can you come help us?" And I'm like, "Guys, you know that I speak broken Spanish. Like it's like totally just like put together Spanglish." And so it's always such an interesting time trying to communicate to them because I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't know what this word is." Yeah. Luckily, our security officer speaks Spanish, so I'm like,
"Oh, there you go."
I'm like, Pete, come here, come on.
Oh, Pete. Okay, I thought you were talking about Martin.
No, Pete. No,
Okay.
Martin doesn't speak Spanish. Pete speaks Spanish, and he's learning Russian right now.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
okay.
so he's just wild. Yeah, shout out Pete, keeping us safe and keeping the Spanglish alive or Spanish alive.
Yes, go Pete.
Go Pete. Go Pete.
So, what do you think patience in the Lord means to you?
Oof. Okay, a little light work with that question.
A little bit heavy.
You know, at the end of the day, I feel like patience in the Lord means this settling. Like you're almost like I think of it as like when you sit on a couch, right? Like you sit on the couch at first, but then after a while you just kind of settle in. You like the couch like absorbs you, your body learns the couch, the bed, whatever that may be, and you just kind of settle in. I think that that's what patience means to me when it comes to the Lord.
Hmm.
Like when you really know the Lord, I feel like you can have this patience that comes from God, right? Fruit of the Spirit, to where you're just settling into this like trust. You're settling into this like this confidence in the
Hmm.
Lord. And that is a daily thing that I'm learning with God, especially in different things. Like you can learn it in one thing, like, man, God, I really have patience in my family life because I know you got me and I know that you
Yeah.
have us. And there's this settling that is maturing in me in my faith with you. But then there's other things, right? Like finances or something where you're like, God, you know, can the provision just come, you know? And I don't have the patience that I have when it comes to this
Yeah.
for this particular matter. And I think God is always maturing us in that settling into who he is in our search in our situations and applying that patience to everything.
Hmm.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
What would be your
I like
answer?
it. Well, I
I'm not gonna
don't,
let you off.
if I'm being super honest, I think I lack patience.
Hmm.
And this past week, I really like that hit home with me.
Hmm.
And we've been talking about like patience and,
Yeah.
all of that. And
I don't think you lack patience in everything, by the way. Let's just throw that out there.
in some things,
Yeah, like, but that's
in
everybody
quite,
though.
yeah.
Everybody. So don't shortchange
I'm
yourself.
just
Like
being
you're very
super,
patient with some
well,
things.
I'm being super transparent. Yes.
Yeah.
I think you are right. In certain
Yeah.
areas I am, in certain areas I really do.
Traffic is not one of them, but yeah, that's all of us. That is
Traffic.
all of our
I
cross
don't
to
even like
bear.
to drive. I don't want to drive.
It's funny
I
how
don't
many
want to
times.
have a car, guys. I've tried to get rid of our car
Oh, so many
so
times.
many times.
It's also funny how many times we roast Dallas traffic on this like podcast.
Have we done
We've already
that?
talked about it. Yeah.
I love y'all though.
I
I love
listen,
y'all.
I would love to hear
Traffic is rough here, guys, but I still love
I
y'all.
would love to hear in the comments if you've been to Houston or anywhere else actually in the world, where is traffic the worst? Because I would argue
We're a
Houston
biblical
traffic.
podcast. We're not a traffic podcast.
Houston traffic is the worst.
Okay, anywho's.
Sorry.
So I'm in my Bible, right? I'm in Exodus and I'm listening to the Bible
Mhm.
right now rather than just like reading it. I'm listening to this really great podcast called Bible Beginning to End. And
Okay.
it's a woman that reads it and she doesn't like commentate on it. She just reads the Bible like front to back. And it's been the most like just eye opening and like fruitful experience reading the Bible that way. There's something about hearing someone reading it that
Yeah.
is just, I can just imagine things in a different way. And so that's been really cool. But I was in Exodus, I think Exodus like 30 or 31. And it's where Moses is going up the mountain. He's talking to God. And while he's up there, his people are, at the bottom. They're with Aaron and they're growing very impatient.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, where is this guy Moses?
Mhm.
He's gone, clearly. And they ask Aaron, make us a god so that we can worship and we can have a God who can lead us. And Aaron is like, okay, grab y'all's jewelry, grab any gold that you have, we'll throw it in the fire, and out comes a gold calf. And so now they've got
Wouldn't that
this,
be nice?
right? Right. So we see this like progression of like, okay, lack of patience, then it leads to idolatry and them having this golden calf.
Yeah.
And then God tells Moses, hey, you need to go down this mountain and check your people. They are already falling into sin so quickly. So go down there and essentially correct them, reprimand them, do whatever you got to do. So Moses goes down and he says, hey, why are you guys doing this? How quickly did you guys fall into sin while I was gone? And then he tells them, this is a part of the story that's like kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Where you read things in the Bible and you're like, whoa, that's like heavy. He
Okay.
says you have to go cleanse, get rid of, unalive all of the people that are not on the side of God,
Sheesh.
whether they're your
Wow.
brother, your son, it doesn't
Mm.
matter. They could be a part of your family, it doesn't matter. You
Oh,
have to
man, that's rough.
unalive them.
Yeah.
So they go and they do that. And then after that, you know, you think, okay, the people who sinned, who did that, they got away scot-free, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, God still sends a plague on them. And the very last like verse is kind of funny. It says, you know, and Aaron is the one that did this. It like reminds you, Aaron is the one that, you know, made the calf. They don't let you forget it. So I just saw this progression of lack of patience leads to idolatry. Idolatry leads to sin, and sin leads to death, essentially.
Wow.
And I thought about that in my own life, and I thought, man, where have I seen that
Sure.
in my past? And I think the only way that we can really speak about this or really talk about it is just to talk about what we have learned and where we have seen that. So
we learned a lot. Yeah.
We have learned a lot.
Where do you feel like patience or lack of patience fits into that story?
You know, I think in that story, lack of patience, well, I think if we want to go practical, like,
do you think God was impatient?
Do I think God was impatient? Do
you think God's patience basically ran out? Like he was like, you know what? I'm tired of you Israelites. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to draw a line in the sand and say who's with me and who's not, because I'm tired of all this garbage.
Do you think God can lack patience?
I don't know if God can lack patience, because he is patience. He is literally the he is not patient. He is patience, if that makes sense. But I also wonder, like, I don't know, in that story, I almost feel like God is like, I'm done. Like, you know what, Levites, let me tell you what to do.
So do you think,
but on the same side,
do you think wrath is a sign of like loss of patience?
No, I don't think wrath is a sign of like loss of patience. I think wrath is in the sense of God, it's justful. It's justice, if that makes sense. It's just, like, you know, it's not I think sometimes, like, we as humans can be wrathful because we get frustrated
and we lack patience.
Yeah, I don't know if that's God, because God knows everything, you know. I don't know, it was just interesting to kind of bring up that question and that thought of.
No, that was a good question.
Yeah. You didn't really answer it. You just asked me some questions, but
I'm asking answering a question with a question.
Right.
You know, I don't know. I don't know if it was him running out of patience. I think
the Bible says that God is a jealous God.
Yeah, it does say that. And maybe it was a result of that.
Which I feel like if you are jealous, I could be way wrong about this, but if you're jealous, does that mean that you don't have the patience to, like, there's a patience aspect in that, right? Like, of like being jealous is like, I'm jealous of you giving your love to someone else because I'm impatient because I want you to give your love to me right now.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
It kind of, because I think.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think our version of jealousy, I don't think is justified. Like, I may feel the emotion of jealousy, but for me to act out on it, I don't think is a justified action because you do not, like, let's say with you, if I'm jealous over something with you, you don't belong to me. You're not my property.
Right.
I think with God being jealous, it's almost justified that he can be jealous, and he can say no other gods are to be put above me. And with the Israelites, you know, for everything that he did for them, protection, bringing them out of Egypt, them being his chosen people, I think it was justified.
Yeah, he did a lot for them.
for God to be a jealous God for them and for his people and for us.
Sure.
Because he's the creator. I think it's okay for him to be a jealous God. For the way that we look at it,
That's
from
what I'm
like a
saying though. It's
human lens,
yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't think that is justified.
Hmm.
Now I say that, and I mean, I can be jealous sometimes.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm not saying like, oh, I'm never that, I don't have those emotions and I don't have those actions. I don't think it's justified though.
Hmm. Interesting. But in the same sense, the Israelites got impatient with Moses being on the mountain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they got impatient, which this is how I'm viewing it. I think they got impatient with the lack of direction,
Mm-hmm.
a lack of there being something like like a physical thing that they could look to and put their hope in.
Hmm.
And so when I kind of relate that to my own life, I think sometimes God will give you direction, but that's where the direction may stop for a little while.
Hmm.
And then it's almost like you're in a waiting season and you're looking for more direction, or you're looking for something physical to put your hope in.
Sure.
So that could translate to a lot of things. I mean, it could translate to you know, financial security.
Mm-hmm.
It could translate to security in status. It could translate
Sure.
to so many ways,
Sure. A
know.
lot of things. Yeah. I almost feel like when you're impatient, or even in what you're saying about being impatient on, like, when you're waiting on the Lord to do something, I almost feel like the impatience can come from like not being content in the Lord and not being content in who he is and what he's done and
No, that's good.
what he
Yeah.
is doing versus, being in I feel like you can almost like find your contentness or contentness, right? Am I saying that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Your state of being content, I'll just say that. In what God is doing for you or what he can do for you versus just being content in him.
Yeah.
It's like just finding your joy in him rather than your joy in the gifts he gives you.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
and
so
I feel
good.
like with the Israelites, I almost feel like they were finding their state of being content in what God was doing for them rather than it being God.
Yeah.
Which is why they needed to make another God.
And why is that? Because I mean, I can relate to that. Like, why is it that it's seemingly so much easier to find contentment in physical things rather than God? Like, why is that it's so easy? Because I know, I mean, if you ask for God to reveal himself to you, you're going to find him.
Yeah.
He's going to reveal himself to you. And the peace that you can experience being in his presence, like for me, I know it surpasses any kind of peace that I could ever find. And I know with things like I will look forward to getting something. Like I looked forward to getting our car for a while. I looked forward to getting a bigger car for our family. And then when we got it, it was like great for a couple of weeks. And then something happened to it. The windshield got, the rock.
We're not going to talk about that.
Hit the windshield
We're not going to talk
on
about
our car.
Yeah.
And I just remember it was like this, like it broke the glass, but it also broke the like glass of just this thought that I even had that the car was going to like bring me contentment because
maybe that was the Lord.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
You know,
oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you got it.
No, you say, baby. Go ahead.
I just think in my own life, like I've seen that so many times where you look forward to like a material thing and then you get it. And literally like the next week, you're looking forward to something else. Like it's just never enough. But God is always enough. Like, let me just say that he's always enough. Like if you're willing to sit in his presence and understand that, he is the gift.
Amen.
it's
Come on.
always enough. Like
Preach.
you never walk away from that feeling
Mm.
empty.
Yeah. Yep. That's 100% true. Wow. You know who else is enough? You are. You're beautiful. You know that? Just want to say that. You're gorgeous.
Thanks, babe.
I love you.
I love you too.
You know, I'm thinking about like you saying, you know, like impatient and everything you're saying. I just feel like since the beginning of time, like even thinking about Adam and Eve, right? Like they were not content in the Lord.
Mm.
And it was crazy because God gave them everything, you know? But I feel like even their like hunger or their desire to even eat the fruit was because they were not content in the Lord. Like when it really comes down to it, like if they were content in the Lord, they would have said, I don't need that. Like I have everything I need right here with my Father. But there was something in them that almost was like, no, I actually don't feel content or whatever. And I'm even thinking about Satan as well. Satan as an angel was not content.
Mm.
He wanted the glory. And so I really think this impatience, when it boils down to it, it comes down to us being content in the Lord.
Yeah.
I think that really is just a core. Um, I think that's just foundational for
Yeah.
patience. And I also think, you know, when we're talking about waiting, like maybe someone is watching this and they're in a waiting season and they're feeling very impatient because the Lord maybe has spoken something that they know is going to come to pass, but they're impatient in the waiting. I feel like if you find yourself being impatient in your waiting, think about and also let the Lord reveal to you what he is doing in your life and who he is actively in your life, because then you'll find contentment in that.
Yeah. Because I was going to ask the question, how do we do that
Mm,
as Christians? How do we find contentment? How do we keep our contentment? How do we keep patience for things?
mm. I think the first thing that I would say is like, and this is very similar to your journey, is the Holy Spirit revealed to you that he wanted to grow your patience in this season. And I think that's a really good sign. And I was telling you this was that I feel like if God is revealing to you the things that you lack in terms of fruits of the spirit maybe, or
Yeah.
things that you need to be more mature in, it's because you're getting closer to the Holy Spirit, and the Holy
Mm.
Spirit is showing you the parts of you that are not like Jesus.
Yeah. And when you told me that, I was kind of surprised because I think that's counterintuitive
Hmm.
to what I would think.
Sure.
If I'm feeling convicted on something,
Yeah.
like a lack of patience, I would think, oh, it's because I'm so far
Yeah.
from having that.
Mm.
And I never pray the prayer, God give me patience, because I've heard that if you pray that prayer, like God's going to he's going to make sure that
Oh
he
yeah.
puts things in your life that
Well, and
make you patient.
that's a great point too, because I feel like you ask for something and you ask for a gift of the Spirit, God's just not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
He's going to give you something that molds that in you and shapes that in you.
Yeah.
So if I ask God, Lord, would you give me, would you raise or increase my self-control in my life? God's going to give me things that are going to mold that in me, and it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be a refinement. It's not just like, here you go. There
Yep.
it is.
Yep.
You know? Yeah. But keep going. Sorry.
That was it. Yeah. That
Yeah.
was it.
I just feel like that's something that is different than the world, right? It's like if you tell someone in the world or a world perspective of, man, I need to be more patient. Like, yeah, you do. And there's maybe like some shame associated in it. But I feel like if it's something that is of the Lord that you need to be more mature in, I think that's a good sign, because I feel like if you feel a conviction about it, it's because the Lord is putting it on your heart.
Yeah.
And that's because there's a closeness with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that the world, they almost embrace impatience.
Oh yeah, we live in a world of hurriedness.
Yeah, like it's almost good to be
Mm-hmm.
impatient because it means that you're like on the move, you're chasing
Mhm.
something, you're going after something.
The hustle culture.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like you're hustling for something.
Sure.
And along with that, just even seeing what other people have that you don't have,
Yep.
and going, well, why don't I have that? I should have that.
Why don't I have that right now?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
And it seems
It's the
like
McDonald's culture.
whatever, yeah, it seems like whatever you might look at someone and go, okay, they have this, and you might think that you know some of the things that they've been through because of whatever they've shared, and you think, well, why is that? Why can't that be me? And I think our culture just rewards like a lack of patience, an increase of hurriedness, and then
1000%.
Jesus and his presence is the total opposite of that.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
just,
I mean, think about how patient Jesus is. He hung on a cross for a long time. You know what I mean? He endured pain. Not only that, but he knew it was coming. He knew the outcome too. And he also, he remained dead for 3 days and he rose. And so I'm like, man, we serve a patient God, or we serve a God who is patience.
yeah. And when you say that, I mean, I always think about the part of scripture where it talks about the hyssop branch.
Oh yeah.
Where they try to give him hyssop, and hyssop is whenever I first heard that, I thought, oh, they're trying to give him like a bitter drink to further like hurt him, inflict pain on him. But it was to numb the pain.
Yeah, right.
And the moment that he tasted it, he was like, no, I'm not doing anything to numb this pain, because I know that I have to experience the fullness of this pain for y'all, for all of y'all.
Yep.
And so even that, just,
that's wild.
He, with everything, him being able to even numb what was happening to him, he chose not to.
Yep.
Because he knew that he had to endure every single part of it. Willingly, he did that.
That's crazy. Wow.
I know for me, like being off of social media, like just taking breaks, that helps me with patience. And, being in my word every day, like that's like sets up my whole day. But being off of social media, which is funny because we're doing this podcast and we're going to post this to social media, but like I cannot sit there on TikTok and just like look at what people have. Because it creates a lack of patience in me.
Sure.
And a desire for things.
Comparison is the thief of peace.
Yeah. And I would say, like, for me, that helps me to not have that impatience and to focus on what it is that the Lord is doing in this season in my life, and then finding contentment in him. Because I think, just being able to even stop and like sit in his presence, there is like a slowing down that you have to do.
Yeah, there is.
And I think that is very counter cultural to like,
oh yeah, that's
how you would
Jesus
spend
culture.
your day.
That is absolutely Jesus culture. This book I'm reading, it's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And it is about the culture of Jesus versus the culture we live in. And it's really crazy. Something else I was thinking about, and I heard someone say this the other day, and it was so profound. Talking about patience, Jesus, he started doing ministry when he was around 30, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But what did he do before that?
He did carpentry.
And
yeah,
he came to earth and did something that he knew he wasn't like, that was not his purpose. His purpose was not to be a carpenter, but he came and did that and waited for the right time.
Yeah, that's so good. There's something about working with your hands too that I think when you are disconnected from like your body,
sure,
like doing physical things, and like even the like time and the work and the effort that it takes to do something with your hands, I even think that creates this patience in us. And whenever I was a young girl, my uncle was into carpentry. He was a woodworker, very gifted woodworker. And I remember because they lived like a house down from us, and there was a forest that separated our houses, and he had made a path in between the forest from our house to his house. And I knew if I heard like the saw going, my uncle was in his woodworking shop and he was building furniture. And
oh man, there's nothing like the smell of sawdust.
Right? The smell of sawdust.
I love
like
it.
fresh sawdust. It's there's
fresh,
nothing like it.
Lining your nostrils.
It's a good smell though.
It
It's
is.
very nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
Whenever we do anything like that, because I remember
so good
hearing that sound and like walking up to his woodworking shop, and he spent his entire career being a janitor at the local high school. That's what he did for work. But, you know, at home, he was this extremely gifted woodworker. And the kind of furniture that he would build was just immaculate, and the attention to detail that he had. And I remember even at that age, I think I was maybe, 9 or 10.
Okay.
I told him, you need to be selling this furniture. Like, you need to be posting this, selling this, like whatever way you can get this out there. This needs to be out there because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And his response was, no, I
don't tell me what to do.
I don't. No, he said, it was just so sweet and kind for him to even like converse with me this way. But he was like, no, I'm not going to sell this furniture. I give this furniture away, and I just enjoy
That's cool.
building it. I enjoy making it.
Yeah.
And I just, now as I'm older, I'm like, that is not how we view anything as a culture. Like, we don't just make things that are so beautiful like that without posting them on, Marketplace or Etsy, or like trying to make something from it. And like the joy and contentment of just doing that is like, I know that the Lord like looks at that, and he was pleased with that.
Yeah. Yep.
And going into a time where everything is like turning into AI, which is its own thing in itself. But I just think about the pleasingness to the Lord when we really honor and we take our time and we really try to get like details right with something or in a season. Like, we spend time like I know we're in a time of culture where it's like, just put stuff out there, just make stuff, like just post stuff or just make songs. But I believe that he is like so pleased when we spend time on a work of art, but it's a work of art for the Lord. Like, it's his. We're making that for him, and we're trying to make it. We're trying to work on every little piece. And I just believe that he's honored by that.
Yeah. I think about the tabernacle and think about how many instructions went into building that, and there's so many small details that God had ordained and instructed them to, to be able to build this, the blueprints, whatever. And I think about, like, if our God was a God who wanted something quick and just immediate, right, to be built, he wouldn't have given those details. He wouldn't have given that roadmap and that blueprint. To just agree with you, I do believe that our God is a God who is honored by patience.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. What would you say to someone who is saying, okay, all that's great and good, and I love that, but how do I practically develop a culture of patience in me? Or how do I even open up my life to the Lord, developing that in me? What would you say? What are some disciplines, some rhythms, some routines that you're learning in this season of leaning more into patience?
Yeah, I mean, for me, because I can only speak to
as a mother
what is presenting
of a toddler who tests your patience every day.
It's funny though, because it's really not him that tests my patience. I think
it's me.
Just sometimes.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I knew it.
Anyways, so this has been a really big thing in my life which I've had a lot of trouble giving it up, but it's been
Mm,
coffee.
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 Wow.
Coffee.
I got a
And
cup
I
waiting for me over
know,
there.
yeah, did you drink your
I only
coffee?
drink half
Do
of
you need
it.
to go grab it?
No, it's okay. It's probably
Okay.
cold already.
For me, it's coffee.
Mm.
And this is why.
You sure?
I know it's coffee. Every morning, I look forward to coffee.
Yeah.
Like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I'm so excited to have coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But once I
Especially
drink
Starbucks.
yeah,
Sponsor us, please.
I'm basic. I like Starbucks. And they're little egg
You're not
bites.
basic. You're just American.
So once I'm done drinking it, though, I always think that coffee is going to like motivate me.
Yeah.
But it just stresses me out. And it literally puts a feeling in my body of hurriedness, of anxiousness.
Mm.
And I am
It's
like
that Gojo.
way less impatient.
Mm.
I am way less like centered.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm just not present. I'm like all over the place. And so coffee has been something that I've just felt a conviction about giving it up. And I think about the scripture, be anxious for nothing. And I think that even applies for coffee. Like, don't even be anxious
Dang.
for your morning coffee. And so for me, it is something that I've cut back a lot on caffeine, but eventually I will be completely done with it because of how anxious it makes me.
King Kong.
And how impatient it makes me.
Yeah.
So that's been a big thing for me.
Okay.
So how are you receiving patience? How are you cultivating patience in your life?
You know, I think it's something, well, I'll say this, like I've learned that God has revealed to me the things that I am not as patient with. And I feel like God has also been giving me the wisdom of how might I even set myself up to succeed in those areas. Does that make sense? So like, for instance,
Kind of. Okay.
let me kind of elaborate. So, and again, this is not by my doing at all. This is the Lord, but just giving me wisdom in certain areas. So for instance, like in the morning, right? If I wake up late and I am rushed to work and I'm rushed to get out the door, have a list of things that I have to do before leaving, then I know that I'm not going to be set up to succeed when it comes to patience. It's that whole hurriedness thing that you were talking about earlier. But if I wake up early, if I'm in my word early, if I am journaling early in the morning, if I am having my cup of coffee early, if I'm having, if I'm making breakfast for everyone before everyone's up, I feel like my day starts off in a way where I'm already starting from a good place when it comes to patience. And so when people wake up, when SJ is up and he's ready to eat and stuff, I'm like, okay, I am good to go. The day is already started for me. I'm starting with a clear mind. And the other thing too that I've learned as well about myself is working out. Working out like really clears my mind.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have more mental and emotional bandwidth when I work out because it gives me this clarity that I don't have when I don't work out.
Yeah. No, I see a totally different side of you when you are working out versus when you're not.
Yeah, I feel like God he has gifted me with these insights and allowing me to see the things that I need to do to safeguard that patience.
But did you have to ask for those insights? Do you feel like he revealed them to you, or do you feel like you had to pray?
I prayed. Definitely I prayed. But I didn't pray specifically for patience. I just prayed my prayer, which is, Lord, make me more like you. And
that's it right there. Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah, I prayed that, and then as that happened, God started to reveal in me the things that are not like him.
Yeah.
And then started to give me those insights about myself as far as when you do this, this is good for your soul, it's good for your mind, it's good for your heart. It relieves certain tensions, but also like, this is going to sound weird, but praying for your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And enemies is such a strong word, right? But like praying for people who you know, irk you, or you know, they just
What are their names?
hit
Call them
that
out by name.
nerve. Satan, that's their
Just
name.
kidding.
Not their name, but that's the enemy's name. Yeah, just certain, people, whatever. Praying for them for whatever reason gives you more patience.
Yeah, I
It
would
gives
agree
you
with
more
that.
patience. It gives you more peace about those situations as well.
Yeah,
So that's
I
what I
would
would
agree
say.
with that.
Practically, that'd be my like practical advice.
So essentially, just pray to be more like Jesus, and he'll start revealing like a bunch of stuff that you're like, yeah, you need to cut that out. You need to cut that out.
It's amazing, but there's power in prayer.
Yeah,
There's
there
power when you
is.
pray.
There is.
Yeah. But what's crazy too is the days and the times, which I pray this often, but the times that I pray, Lord, make me more like you, like reveal to me, refine in me, purify what needs to be purified for me to be like you. Um, our toddler SJ has taught me more about patience and how to be like Jesus than I've learned in years. And the other day, he literally showed me. I feel like the Lord was talking through him. I was sitting on this couch actually, and I was working on stuff, and he was playing, and he was just doing his own thing, and then he kept saying my name, and of course I'm not looking at him. I'm like, yeah, yeah, sure, that's great, that whole thing that parents do. And then he came over to me and he grabbed my face with his little hands and pointed my face at him, and he said, in his words, this is what he says. He goes, "I'm me," and he's trying to tell you, "Look at me." And the Lord showed me in that moment that
Mm,
he is doing that to us all the time. He's calling our name. He's saying he's trying to get our attention, and we're too busy doing our own thing. And then he'll grab us by the face gently, point our face towards him, and say, "Ami, look at me."
yeah.
And
Wow.
God just showed me like how patient he is in that scenario with SJ, and just showed me, look at me. I'm patient. I'll be here waiting for you, but I want you to look at me.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's so good.
It was a sweet moment. It was a sweet moment. I'm telling you, man, babies will teach you about the kingdom of heaven like no other. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's so true. And I never really related to stuff like that. Like when people would talk about how the Lord is teaching them things through their children
Mm,
by them being a parent, I never related to that because I did not relate to having the best relationship with my own,
sure.
like
Sure.
father.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, we, by the Lord's grace, we have a better relationship now.
Mm,
So even you saying that, I'm like, I know that there are people out there who hear what you're saying
mm,
and they just can't picture it
yeah.
because they don't have a good
Sure.
relationship
Or they
with,
don't have
they
kids.
don't have
Yeah.
kids
Yeah.
and they don't have a good relationship with their own
Mm-hmm.
parent.
Right.
And so, I think for, using the example of SJ, I think if you just ask the Lord to start guiding you and leading you, he's going to put you in situations where you're going to be uncomfortable, but his grace will always see you through it. And I think in my own life, that's what I've seen, is that when you see the Lord continuously like lead you and pull you through things, then you're able to know that he's a good father, because if he says something that he's going to do, he's going to do it, and he never disappoints. He will never disappoint you. And so I just wanted to say that because, I know when I've heard examples like that, it never hit home with me.
Sure.
But God is a good father, and he really will never, disappoint.
Mm.
He'll never disappoint you.
The other thing too that I'll say is, like, before you start your day, invite Jesus into your day.
Yeah.
Invite him into your day and ask him to highlight the areas of your life that you need to be more like him in particularly on the topic of patience. If that's something that you're like, man, I want to grow in patience, or the Lord is revealing to me that I need to grow in patience, invite him into your day and ask him, Lord, show me the things that I'm impatient in and grow me in those things.
Yeah. And
Yep.
watch. Just watch.
Observe.
Just watch him
Observe
do
and
it.
report. Yes.
Just watch him do it.
Yep.
Well, I think that's the episode. So
Nice.
we came to you today from a slightly different, well, not slightly different, a pretty different setup.
I was going to say, are we going to talk about it?
podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, we should.
We should definitely acknowledge it.
So
for sure.
we want to just, welcome you to the new year,
Welcome.
2025. We're a little late to the 2025 party, but we're here.
Fashionably
And
late.
This is our new setup for the podcast. So we had been meaning to do this for a little while, and we finally just got it done.
We hear y'all. We hear. We hear.
A lot of this furniture that we had was from our house, and we transitioned into this apartment.
Yep.
And so we now have a full-on setup. We're good to go.
Yep. Also, I want to just tag on to that.
Okay.
Our podcast episodes are going to be available on audio only as well. We're going to be uploading those soon. So be on the lookout for the link. We're really excited about that. We've been having some people ask us, hey, where can I listen to this podcast? Aside from YouTube, we got you.
Yes, that is coming up. If you want to support this podcast, the best thing that you can do is to hit the subscribe button and like and share this video with anyone that you think might find it helpful. We love you guys.
Send it to the people that you need their patience to grow.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, I got this awesome podcast for you. Remember the other day you were super impatient with me?
There you go.
Just kidding. Love y'all. Be blessed. And remember, be the
light.
The light.
Yes.
Love y'all.